What's going on, everyone? I'm here in Austin, Texas with one of my clients named Mr. John Wolf. Very excited. I've never done this. It's going to be a completely raw, unfiltered conversation about where he's at in his business, where we're trying to take it, and anything that we have to share to help you, whether you're at 10K or already at 25K months, as we're growing Mr. John Wolf's business. So John, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, John Wolf here. I have been a fitness and health coach for 20 plus years, and it's been a wild journey. I've been able to do some pretty amazing things. I moved out here to Texas from California, where I had a small studio to help really design and run everything fitness related for a unique lifestyle brand called On It. Spent about 10 years there developing an education system, certifying thousands of coaches, opening a world-class gym where we might be hanging a little bit later.
Yep.
The formerly known On It gym is now Correct Fitness. Mentored all the coaches there, installed the education system. It was an amazing journey. Eventually we did online home fitness, digital home fitness programs, I think like Beachbody, but by a different brand, using our education system as a platform, and grew a community of 20,000 people. So that was a really crazy part of my career. But when I left the company, I realized, oh, wow, I have to do something on my own. And I wanted to get back to my roots, which was coaching in a smaller capacity rather than just one-to-many. Even though that's part of what I do now still, I wanted to also have that high touch, high impact, one-to-one coaching model and be more involved in the process for some of my clients. So that's been a big part of the change after leaving the company, realizing, oh wow, I was a company man for quite a while, a C-level executive, which was pretty cool as a fitness professional. But being a company guy, you don't build your own media list. You don't have your own email list. You're leveraging the company's. Yeah. So it's been a learning process to go from being an entrepreneur to an employee, even as an executive, and then back to being a solopreneur, which has been fun.
Yeah, fun. Yeah. We always sell entrepreneurship here, but it's not for the faint of heart, so that's for sure. So, John, I believe you became a client 2 months ago now? Maybe 6 weeks.
Yeah, maybe about 6 weeks. Yeah,
it's been less than 2 months. So, give everyone a little bit of background. Obviously, you left On It, jumped back into entrepreneurship. I think when we were on our original call, you said that you really only been doing this for 2 months prior to our first conversation. So kind of give us some background, what got you back into running your own business again, and what were your offers at the time, and yeah, we'll just kind of go from there.
Yeah, so, I've been on a bit of a hiatus after leaving On It, trying to figure out exactly what I wanted to, now I'm growing up, what am I going to do again, right? So it's like another phase, sure, another chapter. Yeah. And kind of knowing historically, and this is something you and I talked about on the first call, is, a lot of us, we get into business and we might have an altruistic perspective, I want to take care of people who aren't being taken care of well enough. And so a lot of times you're thinking about these really low price points and just being of service. And then realizing I've gone through that so many times in the past where that model doesn't scale, not from an income perspective, nor from an impact perspective, because you're always chasing and trying to fulfill a promise at a price point that it gets to be impossible to do so,
yeah,
right?
It's just not sustainable, right?
It's not sustainable, yeah.
And that's what they call, it's actually a dumbbell. It's talking about fitness, where you really want to have both sides of the dumbbell. You want to have really high ticket and then really low ticket. But right in the middle is where you go to die, so to speak, and that's what we'll talk about more. So understand that for sure. In your own words, why did you want to work with someone like myself to help you kind of grow the business? What were you knocking your head into the wall consistently? And now I can kind of paint the picture for folks.
Yeah, for me, thankfully, because I have a decent following, and because I have, a history of building trust with these people, because I've been of service to them in a way that they value, that hadn't been the problem. To be honest, and this is what aligned so well with you, is I know if I put out content, I create conversations, and conversations lead to new clients, right? Clients closing. But I don't inherently enjoy creating content, and believe it or not, I get some social anxiety about managing the conversations that occur after, because if they happen at too high a volume, I have like this kind of thing where I'm like, oh, I can't get back to everybody.
Yeah.
But that's just also, this is me making an admission here. That's just me finding an excuse not to do the one thing I needed to do to drive more growth in the business.
Yeah. And to be fair, you have like 40,000 followers on Instagram or something more of that. Plus you got a Facebook group and all of that. So like for everyone who's watching this that's like at their first 500 followers, like just know that someone who has even a big following like that, these are normal things, right? Feeling overwhelmed by what am I going to post, and do I really want to put myself out there? And then oh my God, I have an onslaught of people that want to talk to me. Normally people be like, oh my God, I can't get anyone to listen. And this guy's over here saying he doesn't want to talk to people, but it's like, no, it's overwhelming. And I've been there. Like I know 100% what that's like.
But that's why your system and the flywheel, right? All around primarily organic content first, like dialing messaging. I think that was one of the things that, for me, even though we've only been working with each other for a period of time here, like dialing in these pillars and understanding how to organize and prioritize what I say and why, and then tying it, instead of historically I've always shot from the hip and said, okay, well, this is a cool thing to talk about because I'm here.
Yeah.
I go to my old gym and I want to celebrate the relationships. That's great, but it doesn't necessarily tie to my offer.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. It ties, like, because I used to certify thousands of fitness professionals, a lot of that history speaks to those other fitness professionals. They're like, oh, that's really cool. And so I think in fitness, this is something that comes a problem a lot too, is making content that gets a lot of like high fives, yay, but it's largely from other people who are already, they're doing the things that I'm doing, right?
Yeah, you're not speaking to the avatar that you actually want to be bringing in.
Exactly.
It's coming back now, like our sales call 6 weeks ago, so, of like the problems and things you were dealing with. So at the time, just run us through the numbers. Like, where were you at revenue-wise before you got started with me?
In terms of my online business, I might have a close, two or three a month at most, and a lot of them were kind of low, like mid-ticket, or every once in a while I would hit a higher ticket client.
And it's 6 months, 1,500, right?
That was the price point. It's going up because it was kind of like a floor, kind of rewarding people who wanted to join in.
Yeah.
But then I have a 6-month program, which offers more of the Zoom support, where we're going to go over, usually every 2 weeks we'll spend an hour together, and then go over like the actual form review, problem solve, breakthroughs mentally, emotionally, right? We talk about sometimes a lot like sometimes some of my clients might have questions how they translate the value they get in their fitness practice into everyday life or work even.
Yeah, of course.
So the goal is to show them that like what you're building in terms of your personal capacity spills over in every other aspect of life that you value. And so a lot of times we might spend half the session talking about some of those other things, family dynamics, leadership, business leadership, and how they can translate what they're doing in their fitness and improving their health as a platform for greater impact in those other areas. So, like you said, a big part of what I can't do in that mid-ticket or the accountability program is more just like, hey, these are your your fitness lifestyle things. But then in my higher tier coaching, it's, well, how do we use that as a platform to have higher impact and feel more confident and competent using your body as a platform to express your leadership, right?
Exactly, yeah. And that's where, when I saw your content and what you were doing, I was like, you are kind of pigeonholing yourself into just this fitness one, because that's your bread and butter, which makes so much sense. But in talking to you, I was like, there's so much leadership, mindset, lifestyle pieces that if you don't integrate into a higher ticket offer, then you'll just be stuck in this $1,500 price point. Maybe you could probably squeeze maybe 2,500 out of that, which is still great. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, a fitness professional being able to sell something at 2,500 is great. But if you can elevate the value of the offer, then you're able to then charge more and then get better impact for somebody, right? And that was a lot of the components that we worked on in the beginning. And we're working on trying to close your first version of that since we've started, which is good. And that's what the next video will be about, is kind of showing the dichotomy of those two. So let's go into the client acquisition side. So run me through this month. So this is November of 2025. We set what I called a projection sheet, and I'll kind of overlay it here so you all can see it. But the whole idea is that, okay, how do we get you to a 10K month and then immediately a 25K month within November, right? If we shoot high and shoot for a 25K month in what is usually a more difficult month for people in November, then even if we land at something a little bit lower, then we know what it's needed to get to that next level, right? So to date, before we started recording, you were telling me how November's been, and how has that felt? Like, run me through the numbers, how many deals, how many conversations, how's the posting been going, and where are you at right now?
Okay, so I guess we'll start with the posting, because that's usually the funnel, right? The top of the funnel. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I could do a lot better about the posting.
Okay, sure. I appreciate the honesty. I said it was raw and filtered for sure.
But thankfully, the part of it is like my global or more broad posting, in terms of like the channel, like Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, that goes out to everybody. Yeah. We've been going through this iterative process to refine the messaging, and I feel like, okay, I'm really ready to go on that. But what I have been doing, with your support, is also been kind of making sure I'm making offers within, because I grew a Facebook page with about 700 people in there now, that I started about the same time we started talking, actually. So there's been great growth, and then just making offers there has led to what we also understand is like, okay, that's still it's a qualified subset of my follower base, because they followed me into this space, but but they're primarily more optimized for that mid-ticket offer, is what we're also seeing. So and I'm seeing that that's where this month, in terms of all my closings, is where we landed. So kind of seeing, okay, well, in this group, I speak to them, we have trust. It's been great. We've been able to convert a good amount of coaching clients, and we're really starting off the month pretty well. Slow the first week, 2 closings, so about a 3K week, right? And then the second week of the month that we just finished up, I closed 5, so $7,500, all in that same mid-ticket offer, right? Yeah. And so I feel really great about that. Most of it was cash collected, so that it's very liquid. So this was just a nice scalable thing. And it hits us right around the midpoint of the month to the midpoint of the goal.
Exactly.
But we still have to make up a little ground, maybe.
No, of course. I mean, it's November 16th, and you already hit 10K. So 10,500 to be exact. So good job on that. So that's great. And so that's 7 $1,500 deals, right? Mm-hmm. And you'd say majority of that all came from the community, or is it 100% from the Facebook group?
So either from the Facebook group or referrals of family within that. And so, thankfully, this is something that, within that kind of subset of that qualified community, is because there's so much trust. Some people are looking at starting up a little bit later, and so I have a cascade of things that are anticipated closings. But I'll be honest with you, right? In terms of sales, there's nothing like being able to know that we're moving forward right now.
Oh, right? Yeah, and then tracking that pipeline. I mean, so like if we take a step back, like you have a big following on Instagram, you have a big following on Facebook. You've then created this Facebook group. And so that's that flywheel that I talk about, right? A lot of people say, oh, VSL funnel, DM funnel, all these different funnels. I like to look at it like a flywheel. So if you're posting content and it's interrelated across all these pieces, then all these little touch points with people that are either in your community or on just your Instagram are then seeing that collectively, right? And they're building trust and authority. And that's why if you're shooting from the hip on what I want to post today, then you're not putting out a coherent message, right? And so you're almost shooting yourself in the foot, because you're not able to take people and be like, oh wow, just consistently John is hitting on the things that I'm struggling with and the things that I want. So now that we've tightened up the messaging of like, hey, here's exactly what I do and what you get, the outcomes, now you're seeing that, where it's like, great, your most trusted subset, which is the community, is now consistently buying your mid-ticket tier, which is great, right? So this feels, I'd imagine, sustainable for you at this point, where you feel like, okay, if I can funnel people from my Instagram and into then my Facebook group, that's more of that community, right, that aren't in there today, from the content, then cool, I can consistently hit 10K months with my mid-ticket offer within that. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that's a very reasonable floor,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
And I think what we also recognize is that because I'm not, and this is like shame on me, right? No, because I haven't consistently put out that coherent message positioning my services in the frame of the higher ticket offer, right? Which it transcends fitness for fitness sake. And I think this is the challenge for most fitness professionals. Is like, if you say you're a fitness coach, there's a glass ceiling of how you can position yourself.
Put you in a box almost.
Yeah, because it's a relatively narrow thing. You know, like you say, okay, well, fitness, I can go to Planet Fitness, $9 a month or whatever.
Yeah,
so it feels commoditized. You know, I'm lucky enough to have built a career around not being a commodity in that way. But even then, you have to transcend. Like if I just put me doing demonstrative workout videos, that's good if I want to sell like fitness content.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that I'm any more qualified a coach
Exactly.
than any other fitness influencer.
Well,
right?
I would say it's not as unique. And I think that was the biggest thing on our sales call, where I was like, look, like, John, you have such uniqueness that I think you're leaning into for the fitness side, right? And yes, we needed to tighten up the strategy on that, make sure that we're clear on what you're posting about consistently and all that. But let's talk about breaking through this other barrier, because I know that there's still some resistance there of like, okay, because I was like breaking it down. I was like, look, if we want to hit a 25K month, now that you're already at 10, the easiest thing to do is what? Just sell 2 5K deals before the end of the month. Then you're at 20, and then you just need a couple more of the 1500s, and then you'll be over the line, right? And you'll know what that feels like energetically. Even if in December you hit a 15K month, right? Oh, boo-hoo, 15K, right? Terrible. But like, you just are going to know what that bridge felt like. Because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, there might still be a gap in not knowing how to create a pipeline for the 5K and really know how do I differentiate my content to have that starting to build. Is that fair?
Yeah, and I don't think that it's so much not knowing how to anymore, is now it's just execution, because I think the clarity you bring in terms of the way that we organize the content and based on, you know, my personal content pillars and how those tie to specific either changes, you know, like in terms of like recognizing current state versus intended future state, right? Yeah. Or just selling the future state, selling Hawaii instead of the trip, right? You know, like that just executing on that strategy on a regular basis, I think it's the bridge that's missing. And I feel like, I'll acknowledge, I should say, that I've leaned into where my comfort level was at this current state to test some of the resonance with that message within a smaller container within the community. But now it's time to, it's no longer a little like petri dish. It's time to go put it out in the wild.
Yeah, exactly. So like as an example, one of the things I've been showing you has been the holiday promo, right? So what I mean by that is a lot of coaches tend to try to discount during the holiday season. And I say flip that on its head, because I never did that. So like as a life coach in 2021, I went from 7K in Q3 to then 31K in Q4. And then in 2022, I went from about like 30K to 52K in from Q3 to Q4, just because I added, I didn't take away, right? And so the reason I'm bringing this up for John is because we can use it right now because it's November, but it's evergreen, because the truth is that your $1,500 offer versus then your 5K offer is always, you just added a bunch more, right? And so adding more time or adding more value in the sense of, hey, we're not just focusing on your fitness, we're thinking about how's your mindset at home, how's your mindset at work, right? And you can be a leader in that because of the things that you've done and you've experienced and you've been able to transform for yourself and other clients, right? So the key here, and again, these next 2 weeks will be the go time now, right? And then we'll record it once he hits it, which will be great, is how do you then communicate that to your audience in a clear way? Where it's like, okay, I know John is the fitness guy. I know that he has XYZ offerings, right? But then if you come out of the gate with something more relatable, that's like, hey, here's how fitness has adapted my mindset as a father. Here's how fitness has adapted my mindset as an executive, as an entrepreneur. You start pushing out more of that relatable, your story type of content, then that's going to resonate all of a sudden with people that haven't seen you in that light, right? And so even if you hit on that maybe 2 times a week, starting literally tomorrow, even if it's just in a story, like literally you pick up your phone and you just record and you're like, hey, what's going on, everyone? Here's what I've been dealing with. Here's what I've gone through. If you haven't known who I am, then you're going to get some interested folks in that sense, right? Then when you drop the offer in a couple of days after that, where you're like, hey, I've never really done this before publicly, but I actually have 5 spots available for, and then you explain the mindset type of offer that's on top of that, then people are going to be like, oh, well, that's like what he was talking about before, what he's been through. And then like, yeah, I kind of have that too. Like I kind of second guess myself at work. I'm kind of having some confidence issues, whatever it might be. And then now all of a sudden they see you as that leader and that authority, and you start generating inbound DMs for that offer. So now you've created a pipeline for your 5K. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
Okay, cool. So then run me through, like raw unfiltered, like what, if you had to say your first post about this 5K offer, not the conversion post, but more of the awareness and the relatability side of it, what topic would you maybe start talking about in regards to that?
I really think that the key here is that understanding that there's a relationship between your physical form, the health and well-being of your, not saying you have to have a 6-pack or that, but if you feel limited in your physical form, your low energy, your energy's crashing, your presence or your ability to show up and be where your feet are is lacking, when especially in times where it really matters, when you're in a meeting at work or if you're at home with your kids or your wife, right? And that you're not as confident, you show up somewhere and you're wearing clothes to hide what you are versus to show what you are. Not to say, again, you have to be this shredded animal of a man, but
Yeah.
a lot of what I think I can speak to most are who I am, right? I am a former executive, right? So I've led in a startup environment that sold to a conglomerate. I think that's a unique experience. I'm a father.
Yeah.
I'm a father that's also had to navigate divorce. So it's also something that I can relate to a man in either of those situations, whether you are not and you're trying to maintain your relational health at home, or you've had to adapt to this reality where you can be present only in the times that you have that availability. And then understanding that if we take care of our physical form, we indirectly create a pathway to positively impact our mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being, right? And so, my background also, which I don't always tell everybody, but I think is an important thing, is that, many of us go through phases of life where we have to rebuild from the ground up.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%.
Right?
So got me into life coaching originally in 2015.
Exactly. And so I think what makes it most relatable for you, for me, when we speak to people is understanding no, I've been figuring it all out as we go. And there's been multiple times where I've had to refigure it out. So as a young man, I was a 130-pound meth addict, and I found fitness as a way to rebuild myself. That was my rehabilitation, was resubscribing or reaffirming to beliefs that I was taught as a young man in martial arts, and then rebuilding myself through physical practice, because I was so scrambled here and here. I didn't have any connection. That the easiest way that I could control the way I saw myself was by doing one rep or one set and being successful at seeing that I can affect positive change.
Yeah.
And as that as a platform for seeing the opportunity, like a growth mindset versus fixed mindset,
Yeah.
I'm no longer define myself or don't have to in the light of this negative experience I had in life, but that I'm someone who can positively change and that I'm demonstrating it real time. By just showing up at the gym, but it creates the platform for more ascension, right? Like going deeper. And so, then that being one reboot, and then going through divorce and having to reboot and understand that everything changes, but I have to subscribe to my values and build from here.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know if anybody else has left a company that you've helped build a big part of it, but 10 years at the company, it felt like another divorce and having to refine myself after, which
identity
is
shifts for sure.
large part of why I'm here with you,
Yeah. No, wow. Well, appreciate the honesty on that. I didn't even know that about your transformation from how old were you when that was happening?
The first thing? I was in my early 20s.
Okay. Yeah.
But, I think this is just I think a lot of us, we go through a point in life, and some of us maybe not, and I certainly hope that some of us can learn without these types of painful experiences.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But my experience has always been that like I've learned through these really, really hard times and have to rebuild from scratch. So that was the first, and I think is the most impactful, because after that, no matter how hard it's gotten, I've always known like, well, that was my real rock bottom, and like I haven't hit that floor again, and so I'm happy to climb from wherever I land now, because it was a lot harder back then. Like. Yeah,
and I think that most coaches have gone through that in some degree. Like for me in 2015, I hospitalized myself 3 days in a row because I thought I was having a heart attack, but it was panic attacks because I was not getting enough sleep. I was super stressed out. I had a biochemistry degree that I was getting that I didn't know what I wanted to do with. I was president of my fraternity. We were getting kicked off campus. Like I wasn't taking care of my body. Like I would go to the gym, but I would party at night. Like it was just a bad cocktail of things. And it was a huge mental health problem where I didn't feel grounded, right? And, you can take something like that and turn it around for yourself. And then ultimately that is like you said, the floor with which you build from. And I think what's cool about your story is that fitness has always been the thread through all of those that's like grounded you, but then has then given you the experience to then help other people that are going through similar things, right? And that's what I'm saying is you'd be doing yourself a disservice and then other people that you can truly help if you didn't say, hey, I do this offer, it's $1,500 and this is what we do, but I also can help you in this capacity. Right, and that's why I'm really excited to see you close one of those very soon on that front. So
tomorrow.
I'm always on top of my clients for that, right? Because like let's walk through the numbers, right? So if we needed to close 2 deals, you realistically want to have some pipeline coverage, I call it, right? Not a lot of people think that. They're like, oh, I just got to close 2 deals. It's 2 deals. I'm like, okay, well, you need really to do that 10 sales calls, right? And if you have 10 sales calls, then you can probably close 2, right? Because what's going to happen? You'd have 10, 2 don't show up, that's 8, maybe 4 of them aren't really the best fit or they need to think about it or whatever it is, and it's not the right timing, finances, whatever it is. So then if you have that 4, close 50% of those, then great, you're in that position, right? And so finding that pipeline comes from 2 places, right? And this is the actionable thing for you, which is the first one is your existing network that you already have, right? So anyone that you've already had as a client from like today all the way back, even people you just closed at $1,500, by the way, is like if you think that there's anything that is relatable in their journey that they can find the value there, right? Because we don't just sell this to anyone. It's just more of like, hey, you have to exhibit XYZ pain points and desire these like desirable outcomes. And if you have that gap, then great, let me have that conversation with you, right? So it's to think through who do you already have in your conversation pipeline that could potentially be a fit for that, right? Then the second piece is then the content. Because if you start pumping out, even if it's simply 2 reels next week and then maybe 1 or 2 days on your story, talking about your experience, but also then like, helpful advice for mindset for recently divorced fathers or men going through XYZ identity shifts at work or whatever it might be, then all of a sudden people see you in that light, and then you do a conversion-based piece of content that's like DM me the word promo or comment the word mindset on this post. You never know who's going to actually come in, right? Could be someone who's been following you for years, and all of a sudden is like, oh, now I resonate a lot with John, right? And so what we want to see is that, okay, if we have the 2 closes, you got the 10 calls, so then how do we get, maybe 20 conversations, 30 conversations, 40 conversations with people in that space, right? And just tracking that. Because then you can really be like, okay, cool, I am building a pipeline for this 5K offer, right? And if you think who's the hottest, who's the one closest to closing, then great, you can land that plane before the end of the month, right? So hopefully it's getting some gears turning for you.
Yeah, definitely. And not only that, we're not starting from ground zero next month.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
that's what pipeline is all about.
Yeah,
exactly.
If it bleeds into December, that's great, right? Okay, cool. So what would you say as we get close to closing out, and then we'll hit the gym and you'll treat me like an avatar and for your different offers and whatnot, which I'm excited for. What has been the biggest change for you so far in the 6 weeks that you've been here? And then what's the next change to come that you're going to commit to that's going to help you break through that next barrier that I can help you with?
So biggest change so far is having a clearly defined, understandable, and executable framework to support the organic content side of my business. Because up till then, it was all just shoot from the hip. Like, oh, I'm here right now, let's just shoot something. Yeah. And then again, it doesn't have any clear ties to the intended offer, right? Now, the biggest thing now is executing that strategy, because I told you before, I kind of geeked out and took your framework and I was like, I need even more support and organization. So I've been geeking out on AI and being able to use that as a tool and a framework, not to drive the exact messaging, but to help guide with your framework how I would organize that in the context of my offer, right? So now I have all that, and I have a game plan for next week. So when I'm done here, we have some content we're playing with today, and then I already have things in the pipeline for the week. So now it's just executing in preparation for the holiday promo.
Yep.
And being able to execute that, because that's where I've lacked. I've posted maybe twice since we really kicked off.
Wow. Yeah.
So like
for everyone, I always say 5 posts a week bare minimum. So okay. But you've been posting
in my community,
in your community, so it still counts, right? And so that's fine. But I do want to expand the flywheel on your Instagram for sure.
Exactly. So that's my admission, right? Like, hey. Some of us plan too much, build too much, and I think that was part of our conversation when we first started, right? I want to get things so well defined in my head before I pull the trigger. But, taking immediate and messy action is often much more effective than waiting for a moment that never happens. It's a million times more effective, I would say.
Oh, yeah, well said. I mean, like, what I always say to my clients is, there's 3 chunks of work. There's acquire, develop, and fulfill, right? And it's kind of like the Hermosi structure, right? But most of us lean super heavy on fulfill because we want to deliver. We are coaches naturally. We want to make sure people are getting great value. Then we're also builders. So we're developing, like how you took all my framework, shoved it into your own custom GPT, and you're like, yeah, I've done all this cool stuff and it's great. And I'm like, okay, I love it. When are we using it?
Yeah.
And that's that acquire piece, which is and you're not alone in that sense, because I would say that there's a level of, you need to feel grounded in what it is that you're doing, and so you have to be a student of what it is that we've worked on, right? Mm-hmm. What's the offer? What's the messaging? What are the content pillars, right? How do I make my pipeline? All of that stuff. You can't just build it and then start running with it. You have to learn by doing, obviously, but you kind of have to ground yourself in it first, which I understand. But people can stay stuck in that for months, right? Of just well, yeah, this is my offer, and this is what I'm going to post about. I'm like, you're going to learn 10,000 times more from posting, because then you're going to actually get real life feedback, right? Including my feedback, where I can be like, oh, tweak this, tweak that, right? So I'm excited to hear that, that first of all, that change has helped you at all, just kind of get more grounded. And clearly it worked. You got to 10K, which is great. But then now it's okay, yeah, putting that into practice, and let's learn by doing. And I'm excited to start seeing those pieces.
Yeah, man, me too. Yeah, and just for clarity, like, I think my best month up to now in terms of within one 30-day period of time was like 8K. So
Wow.
we're already
6 weeks in.
25% better than that.
That's
or more.
great.
So,
Yeah.
and it's just a matter of back to what I was saying, and I think maybe some of you, who anybody who's watching, might relate to this. Like, you just get into that builder mode. Like, I don't want to put too much into the top of the funnel if it's not gonna represent my brand well enough, and I'm not gonna create the outcomes. But the reality is this: I've been creating good outcomes for people for years.
Yeah.
And the reality is, maybe it's not as tight of a system, but the worst thing you could do as an entrepreneur is like not make money.
Yeah. That's how you get paid. Yeah, 100%.
Right. So whether you relate to that or not, I just want to say, like, I think I'm in a uniquely positive experience. Not unique in the sense that there aren't other people with just as much opportunity, but I'm lucky to have the opportunities I've had. But I still get into that same mode of like finding safety in building, finding safety in trying to find the systems.
Yeah, it is a safety thing, and that's why I like to flip it on its head, where it's like focus on acquiring first, then developing your skill sets and getting feedback. Then it's fulfilling, right?
Yeah.
Not to say client fulfillment is not important; it's always number one. But from a prioritization of what am I needing to do, what am I posting today, where's my next deal coming from? Those two pieces, you just focus on that and find safety in that, just like how you find safety in the develop work.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think you'll be in an even better spot. So I know I've been pushing you towards that.
I feel much better about it already.
Yeah, there you go. Nice. Cool. Well, hey, John, thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking the time and us walking us through kind of where you're at and where we're going. And we'll do another one once you hit your first 25K month, right?
I mean, no pressure. Apparently, I have to do it this month, though.
Yeah, exactly. We got 2 weeks. So. But even if not, we got some more time for sure.
Yeah, man.
So thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And if you found that helpful, make sure you like and subscribe. And if you want me to do the exact same thing to your business, to dive in deep, understand what's going on, regardless if you're just starting out or you even hit a 25K month already, just book a call below and we'll go from there. Cheers.